above the turbulent clouds. The planet of Thanagar has always been celebrated as a shining beacon of absolute order and pristine law. Its floating cities are marvels of advanced architecture, gleaming in the golden sunlight, home to a proud race of winged warriors who police the cosmos. But every society built on absolute light casts an equally absolute shadow. Far beneath the magnificent floating spires, hidden away from the sun, lies the Thanagarian Underworld. It is a lightless, forgotten pit, a vast, subterranean wasteland of ruined foundations, toxic fumes, and the outcasts of a perfect society. It is a place where the law does not exist, and where monsters go to hide. Recently, a new kind of monster arrived,
isn't it?
a dimensional anomaly, a violent tear in the fabric of the multiverse, deposited something utterly alien into the deepest chasms of Thanagar. It was not a warlord. It was not a cosmic conqueror looking for political power. It was a man named Cletus Kasadi, bonded perfectly to a chaotic, blood-red alien symbiote known as Carnage. For Kasadi, the lightless pits of the Thanagarian Underworld were not a prison. They were a paradise, a sprawling, unregulated hunting ground filled with desperate prey. The alien symbiote thrived in the damp, freezing darkness, spreading its crimson tendrils through the subterranean tunnels like a sentient, bleeding infection. When the floating cities above began to notice the sudden, terrifying silence emanating from the lower levels, they sent their greatest champion to investigate. Shara Hole, the legendary Hawkgirl, descended from the heavens. Her magnificent wings cut through the toxic fog as she glided down into the absolute darkness. In her hand, she gripped her iconic weapon, a massive mace forged from pure nth metal. This divine, gravity-defying, or was Thanagar's greatest treasure, capable of shattering magical barriers, disrupting energy fields, and crushing the strongest armor in the universe. Shara expected to find a violent rebellion. She expected to find smugglers or escape convicts. She had absolutely no idea that she was flying directly into a slaughterhouse. As Hawkgirl ventured deeper into the subterranean labyrinth, the temperature plummeted. The air grew extraordinarily thick with the unmistakable metallic scent of copper. The stone walls around her were not just damp. They were coated in thick, pulsating webs of dark red biological matter. Every instinct in her highly trained Thanagarian mind screamed that something was terribly wrong. She raised her glowing nth metal mace. The divine energy illuminated the cavern, casting long, shifting shadows against the walls. From the darkness above, a horrifying sound echoed through the cavern. It was a wet, tearing noise, followed immediately by a high-pitched, hysterical laughter that made the blood freeze in Shira's veins. It was the sound of absolute, unfiltered madness. Without a single moment of hesitation, the shadows violently came alive. A massive barrage of razor-sharp, crimson tendrils exploded from the ceiling, completely blinding her. Hawkgirl reacted with the lightning-fast reflexes of a seasoned warrior. She swung her glowing nth metal mace with devastating force, smashing directly into the red mass. The divine weapon connected with an earth-shattering boom. The anti-magic properties of the nth metal violently rejected the alien biology of the symbiote. The red tendrils shrieked, burning and recoiling from the holy light of the mace. For a brief second, it seemed the Thanagarian champion had the upper hand. But Cletus Kasadi does not fight like a disciplined warrior. He fights like a rabid animal. The symbiote did not retreat. Instead, it multiplied. From every crack in the stone, from the floor beneath her boots, and from the toxic fog itself, thousands of microscopic red fibers surged forward. They moved with terrifying, impossible speed, completely overwhelming. Before Shara could swing her mace a second time, a thick, muscular tendril whipped through the air and wrapped violently around her right leg. The sheer physical strength of the alien symbiote was staggering. With a sickening crunch, the tendril yanked her backward, slamming her violently against the cold stone wall. More tendrils erupted from the darkness, wrapping around her left wing, pinning it tightly against the rock. The majestic wings that had allowed her to soar through the skies of 1,000 worlds were now hopelessly bound in a massive web of living, bleeding alien muscle. Hawkgirl struggled furiously, kicking and thrashing, her warrior spirit refusing to yield. But the symbiote was liquid and solid all at once. Every time she broke one restraint, 3 more wrapped securely around her limbs. The red mass began to slowly slither up her armored legs, coiling around her torso like a massive, predatory serpent. Then, from the swirling mass of red and black, a face emerged. It was a chaotic, shifting nightmare of jagged white eyes and row upon row of razor-sharp, decaying teeth. Carnage leaned in incredibly close, his breath smelling of ancient decay and fresh slaughter. Kasadi's twisted, psychotic voice echoed directly inside Shayera's mind, bypassing her ears entirely. He whispered horrific, broken fragments of his own mind, flooding her disciplined Thanagarian consciousness with vivid, inescapable images of pure, senseless butchery. He wanted to break her mind long before he broke her body. Shayera screamed, fighting desperately to block out the telepathic torture. She gripped her nth metal mace with both hands, trying to summon the divine energy to burn the infection away entirely. The mace glowed brighter, humming with a brilliant, golden light that scorched the symbiote flesh. The alien screamed in physical pain, its surface boiling where it touched the sacred metal. But Carnage is a creature born of pain. He thrives in absolute agony. The unhinged madness of Cletus Kasadi pushed the symbiote forward, completely ignoring the burning, searing destruction caused by the divine weaponry. Instead of pulling away from the nth metal, the crimson tendrils did something completely unexpected and entirely terrifying. They began to aggressively wrap around the head of the mace itself. The golden, divine energy of the Thanagarian relic clashed violently with the dark, chaotic biology of the alien parasite. Sparks of blinding light and dark red lightning exploded through the cavern as the two impossible forces fought for ultimate dominance. Nth metal is uniquely sensitive to the emotional and psychic state of its wielder. It actively channels their willpower and their spirit. But as Carnage wrapped his physical form around the weapon, Kasadi violently forced his own psychotic, bloodthirsty consciousness straight into the metal. The harmonic frequency of the divine began to distort under the immense psychological pressure. The brilliant golden light flickered, turned a sickly orange, and then began to bleed into a dark, corrupted crimson red. Shayera watched in absolute horror as her sacred weapon was violated. The mace, an ancient symbol of Thanagarian justice and cosmic order, was being fundamentally rewritten by alien chaos. The tendrils fused permanently with the heavy metal, growing jagged, razor-sharp spikes out of the once smooth surface. The mace no longer hummed with gravity-defying. It throbbed with a heavy, wet, predatory heartbeat. With her greatest weapon completely corrupted, the last of Shayera's physical and mental defenses fell. The red tendrils rapidly crawled up her arms, sinking microscopic hooks deep into her skin. The symbiote did not just want to trap her in the dark. It wanted to completely consume her. It wanted a host with wings. It wanted the raw, unparalleled physical power of Thanagarian warrior to amplify its own insatiable hunger. The red biological mass spread aggressively across her chest plate, dissolving her armor and fusing directly with her very pores. Hawkgirl cried out into the darkness as the cold, invasive presence of the symbiote flooded her nervous system. Her mind, a brilliant fortress of discipline, morality, and tactical training, was violently besieged by a tidal wave of chaotic, uncontrollable bloodlust. Kasadi's hysterical laughter echoed endlessly in her skull, drowning out her own thoughts until nothing else remained. The transformation was brutal, agonizing, and entirely irreversible. The beautiful, feathered wings of the Thanagarian champion were violently coated in a thick, wet layer of crimson armor. The soft feathers morphed and twisted into jagged, razor-sharp blades of hardened biological steel. Her iconic golden helmet was utterly consumed, morphing into a terrifying, featureless red dome with two massive, chaotic white eyes that burned with absolute malice. The struggle finally ceased. The underground cavern fell into a dead, horrifying silence, broken only by the wet, rhythmic pulsing of the alien symbiote. Where Shayera Hole once stood, a new, absolute nightmare was born into the multiverse. The hybrid creature slowly flexed into massive, blade-like wings, the corrupted, spiked nth metal mace dripping with dark red energy in its clawed hand. In the lightless pits of the Thanagarian Underworld, the perfect champion of justice had been completely erased from existence. Carnage had not just captured Hawkgirl, he had broken her spirit, corrupted her divine weaponry, and forged her physical form into an instrument of ultimate, unstoppable slaughter. As the terrifying, winged demon slowly turned its chaotic white eyes upward toward the magnificent floating cities of Thanagar, it let out a deafening, blood-curdling shriek that shook the foundations of the earth. The shining society of law and order above had absolutely no idea that their perfect sky was about to end.
The mace is corrupted, Hawkgirl. Soon, your power will be mine.